Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on, dude.
Of course.
I've been meaning to get you on for a minute. I had Maddie on, and I was like, oh man, I gotta interview more of these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Anyways, have you been, man? Good overall.
Good. Yeah, everything's been good. I mean, the last year, not doing much. Been staying in, learning to cook a lot more.
That's good, man. Yeah, I think everybody needs to have a better handle on that for sure.
Yeah.
It's a viable trait to have.
It makes the home life a lot more enjoyable. More
Definitely.
invested.
Yeah. It's true, and it's like I mean, obviously the reduce of spending money for sure is also a plus.
Yeah, I was always just eating out. You don't realize how much or I didn't realize how much I was eating out before until, you kind of can. You're like, oh shit. And then
Yeah,
now I'm like learning to make stuff. I mean, I'm not like a great chef or anything by any stretch, but it's enjoyable.
no, but it's a start, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Look at Bourdain, man. He had to learn how to do this stuff. You know, he was pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he had a good
so,
run.
yeah, he did. It was entertaining. He was great.
Yeah.
He seemed like an approachable guy. I would
Yeah, I
I
was a fan. Still a fan.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like everybody is, and that's
Mhm.
that's great. Um, he didn't really give into the whole Food Network thing, which is fine. I'm a Rachel Ray guy myself, so
Yeah, okay.
yeah. But anyways, you're originally from San Diego, right?
Yeah,
Awesome. North County, right?
North County, yeah, like grew up in Del Mar and Solana Beach. I don't know if you know the area there.
Somewhat, not too well, but
Where are you at right now?
Orange County.
Oh, you're in Orange County. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Stay in here. Um, but when you were growing up, what were you doing as a kid for fun?
Um, Growing up, like skateboarding, surfing, boogie boarding. Had a bit of a boogie board period there.
That's good.
And
Everybody needs to.
yeah, no, it's super fun. Yeah. And surfing. Yeah. I see your poster back there. Surfer. Are you a surfer?
Not so much. I do I do like it, but not so much. But
It, it's a cool
yeah.
picture, though. I think I know the guy who's in the picture
Oh wow.
of that
Y-
cover. I think it's Gary Linden. I think.
Yeah. I'm not too sure who it is, but I was like, oh man, that's great. And I don't even think that Surfer magazine is around anymore. I think that they
I think
ended
it
there.
just tanked. Yeah.
Yeah, which is so sad, man. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much money to make just hard cover print stuff anyways. And
Yeah.
it got really expensive towards the end. It's like $13 for a magazine. It's like
Yeah.
like if you're getting on a flight and you're like I'm kind of dropping some money here for some entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do enjoy it. I love living by the ocean. I mean, I'm more inland, not
Hmm.
not so much on the coast, but yeah, I mean, you got to enjoy it, right?
Oh yeah, of course. What part of town are you in?
I'm in Yorba Linda, so it's like near Anaheim area.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend was born in Santa Ana. I lived there for a little bit, but
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. Santa Ana's a nice place too. There's a lot of good nooks and crannies within this county itself.
yeah,
Yeah,
you get kind of cool up there.
yeah. So you're skating, you're boogie boarding, doing other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Were you like a mischievous kid getting
I
into
was.
some
I was a
things?
bad kid. Yeah, I was always in trouble in elementary school. In principal's office and all that. And then cleaned my act up like middle school and high school. Then I was just like a totally, um, I don't know. Then I was pretty mellow,
Yeah.
surfing, skateboarding,
When
and
yeah, but no, please go ahead.
no, yeah, I was gonna say that I got into. Well, I was always into music, and then like, it's funny because a lot of my good friends like started playing guitar when they were like 8 or 9, and they were all like shredders by the time they were 12 or something. And I always wanted to learn, but I was like, yeah, but I'm too old. Like, I was like a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old being like, yeah, but it's too late now. You should start when you're like 6 or 7 or 8. That way you can really rip. And now I'm too old. And I kept just saying that until I was like 16 and I got a guitar. I think I found out that like John Lennon got his first guitar when he was like 16, 15 or 16 or something. I'm like, well, if John Lennon
Yeah,
started, I could start now.
yeah. I kind of felt that way too. A lot of my buddies were playing music, and I was like, like, I mean, they kind of got into it way earlier. They got like a head start kind of thing. And I was like, you know what? I'll just give it a go. And then, I mean, and then that's yeah. I'm so glad I did it. As I'm assuming you did too. You're like, this is good that I started doing this whenever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I read that the guy who started Fender like didn't even know how to play a guitar. I could be wrong about that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is just crazy. So you started to play music around mid teens.
Yeah, like
When did? Yeah.
16, I bought a guitar.
Wow. Yeah. And then when did you start playing with other people?
Um, well, we would like try, try to play, but you always just like, for some reason, no one like really had it together. No one knew what the hell was going on, and it wasn't until like college, like my second year of college, that I started kind of playing, and even that was just kind of like a shitty band. Didn't know really what we were doing, and yeah, yeah, just like with some friends, and we would play shows like around in like college, and it was like pretty much just crap. Some stuff was all right, but we had like no idea of like what to do, like songwriting wise, or what worked and what didn't work. So we were just kind of like. Plus, when you're young, a lot of times you have like everyone around has like really shitty influences and listen to a bunch of crap. So
Yeah,
people want to make shitty music or think shitty music sounds good or whatever, and so it just can be kind of like a like misdirected time and like not much kind of focus.
definitely.
And
Yeah. What were you what were you listening to at the time? Do you perceive your music taste to be shitty at that time?
um, let's see. Well, like so so that was like college. Yeah, actually no, I at that time I think I got on the right track. When you meet someone who's like a record collector or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
I lucked out. I went to San Francisco State for my freshman year of college, and I think on like my dorm. Did you go to college, stay in the dorms or anything like that? Or
No, I've been community college guy. So
okay, yeah. I ended up going back to community college, but anyway, yeah. So I did one
okay.
year in the dorms, but I think on like the dorm thing, they were like trying to like assess like what kind of roommate or whatever you wanted, and I was like, pretty much I just care about. I think I put indie rock and like and I don't really care about studying, I think, or something like that. Like studying's not so important. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
kind of like I think I just put that like some older guy that I was friends with was like, no, write whatever you want. They're not like gonna kick you out. So I was like, all right, fuck it. And then so I ended up getting paired up with this dude who's still my good friend, Ryan Quello. And he was already way ahead of the curve. Like he had like all sorts of like well, he grew up in the Bay Area and he was always going to Amoeba, the San Francisco Amoeba anyway. So I went from listening to kind of like I mean, I was really into like punk stuff and like the Beatles, and like rock, the Beatles and Beatles and Stones and like I was into like Pavement and like in San Diego, Drive Like Jehu and the Hot Snakes and um but yeah, so I had kind of like local stuff and then like general stuff, like Pavement and the Beatles. And then I get up to this guy, and like first thing we're moving in our CD collections at the time, and he has like a monstrous CD collection. He's got all this stuff like all these krautrock bands, and like all the Brit pop stuff in the '90s, like just a bunch of stuff. And I was just like learning so much, learning like Joy Division and stuff from him, like still some of my favorite bands. So I was already there. That was like freshman year, and like that was a really cool experience with a really cool guy. Opened my ears up a lot to new stuff. And then by the time I was in, then the following year, I left San Francisco State and I was living in Santa Barbara, going to Santa Barbara City College, and started the band with friends. And at that point, I was like, we got to do something cool, but we didn't end up doing anything that very cool, you know. It's kind of
Yeah, that's awesome that like you, I mean, you went from basically the south to north. I mean, and then it just totally expanded broadened your music taste. And I'm assuming other stuff as well. I mean, just being in a new environment with new people. I mean, that's always great, especially for young people to just kind of get outside of their comfort zone and experience more stuff for sure.
yeah, to go from Del Mar, which is just like a small beach town, you know, not much culture to speak of, to go to San Francisco, where I'm like, you know, taking public transit, you know, riding the buses and the sub metro system, and like going around. They don't really card you. They didn't really card us at the time, so we were like 18, going to bars and drinking
Yeah,
and being
they
on
kind of
campus.
don't. Yeah, they kind of really don't card you over there. I mean, some places are like, all right, get out of here, but some of them like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's cool. It's like, all right, awesome. I'm
yeah, and
cool.
like it was crazy. We were just like we would like go to a liquor store. They wouldn't card us. We would buy like, you know, like a big like tall can of beer or whatever, and then like just walk around the streets drinking beer, and the cops would just drive by us. They didn't care. I think they had, you know, like bigger fish to fry, and that was like some of the funnest time I ever had, just like screwing around. And the
Yeah,
cops, we were just like
definitely.
completely ignored by the police. It was great. We
Yeah,
weren't
you're
really causing any problem though, and it's like, and you know, like that's not illegal in a lot of countries either. You know, to like drink in public. I think it's like, I don't know. Yeah,
yeah,
to
it's
come from
taboo
San
over here.
Diego was like ridiculous. Like San Diego's a ridiculously like conservative place, you know. So
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's definitely, you could definitely get away with more stuff in San Francisco than San Diego.
yeah.
Yeah. What'd you go to school for initially?
I ended up studying film, video, photography, like media arts. But yeah,
All right,
film
yeah.
theory. You know, I wasn't studying filmmaking. I ended up eventually transferring to UC San Diego and emphasizing on film and learning a lot of like 70s video art kind of stuff. There's a lot of like feminist kind of stuff going on when they first started making home videos. It was really interesting. And then there's this film professor, Jean-Pierre Gorin, and he was an old school French guy, and he just talked and talked and had some awesome, you know, stories, and knew a lot about the old film, you know, history, you know, like theory. And he was just really kind of captivating guy, pretty divisive guy, because he was kind of like old school and like, you know, misogynist and stuff. He would say fucked up stuff, which was kind of funny, but obviously offensive to some people. But
Sure.
you
Right.
get past that, he had some really interesting, like, I saw some really interesting films, and he had some really interesting things to say. He was a big inspiration for me in terms of just like exposing me to a lot of art that inspired me to go on to make art, music, whatever, you know.
Yeah. Have you experimented in all those mediums since leaving college?
Yeah, I did a little bit like our early music videos and stuff were my ideas, and I like kind of before the band started touring and stuff, I tried to like work in like some production stuff, and luckily we just started touring and I didn't have to like do that grind, you know, and get into that stuff. But you know, I
PAs and
liked it.
whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of though. I kind of burnt out though. I mean, after studying film for a few years, I was like, okay, I stopped watching movies after that. I watched so many and wrote papers about it that I was just like, I'm back. I'm just gonna do music, you know.
Yeah,
But
that's good. You need that kind of to hit pause on something to focus on something else. Have you since gone back and been able to watch films and like, yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy this kind of thing.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I started like for some reason at the time I wasn't watching any Werner Herzog films, so I got back when I got back into it like a few years ago. I just started watching a bunch of his movies, like 5 years ago or something. And he's the greatest. His
Yeah.
movies are so amazing. Like walking that line of like, you know, documentary and fiction and stuff, and like it's like his it's like his like fictional films have like more documentary in them than most fictional films, and then his documentaries have more fiction in them than most documentaries. He's like he's an amazing guy, you know. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever watched his stuff, but
I know the name. I'm not familiar with the work, but yeah, what I've heard is people really revere him as a great filmmaker, and it sounds like rightfully so. You know,
yeah.
yeah, definitely. So, did you start playing in the soft pack when you moved back down from Santa Barbara? You said you went from San Francisco to Santa Barbara back to San Diego.
Yeah. So around then, um, yeah, I was at San Diego for a year or so, and then Maddie graduated from college. He was in Virginia, and he came back, and we started the band. Yeah, I think I was in college when we were already playing when I was wrapping up college. So then, yeah, we were like, let's get let's take a serious stab at it when I get out of college, and we'll like, you know, try and do it, try and tour and all that.
That's the time to do it, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
yeah, that is the time to do it. So, do you remember the first song that you wrote for the soft pack that ended up being on an album?
Yeah. So it kind of started out actually like I was when I was living in San Diego, I was kind of like focusing on because once again I was saying like none of our friends. I had a couple friends that knew what they were doing, had been in bands, but they were like already in bands, you know. So if I wanted to start a band, I had to find other people, and then no one else knew what the hell to do. They were like, I felt like everyone was like overwriting songs, putting too much, trying to write a song super complicated or like what they listen to, but you're like, you're not, people didn't understand that they sucked kind of, whatever. So, or that, and I was kind of like, okay, let's like, I was inspired by Jonathan Richman a lot, Modern Lovers, just like really simple songs, but you can get a lot of,
Depth, meaning,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you can do a lot of emotional depth or whatever with just like a simple song. Like Roadrunner is like the best fucking song ever, and it's just two chords. And
Yeah.
and so I was like, we're just gonna write like, I would just like I would like we're writing two songs, and like I was kind of a jerk to everyone. I'd be like, okay, don't change the drums, don't do any drum fills, don't change the bass, just play this bass line the whole time, blah blah blah, you know. So before the band started, I was like writing and recording songs, trying to figure that out, and like I had like a Tascam little recorder, and we were just hanging out at Maddie's house one time, and he just started playing the bass line of Bright Side. It's one of our first songs. It was like an old on our first album when we were the Muslims, you know. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's fucking great. And I just said, just record that bass line for like, just play it straight and don't do anything else, onto my tape recorder. And then I went on and tried to play some drums on it and like some guitar. And then like, that was like a year before we even started playing. And then when we finally got together as a band, I was like, dude, this song is really cool. We should play this one. And we ended up playing it. And that was the first song we kind of like wrote that before we were even a band, and that song went on to be kind of like stayed in like our live set, the whole time we were playing. So it was cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting that to hear the evolution of a song like that, and that it stayed, because a lot of a lot of bands songs that they do early on, they kind of put it to the wayside in a
Yeah.
way, and that's
Mhm.
really interesting to hear the like stay. That was like a main staple of it. That's really interesting. Do you remember your first show that you played in it with a softback?
Yeah. Yeah. We were playing, our first show was at the Beauty Bar in San Diego in like 2006, maybe, like, or yeah, the end of 2006, maybe sometime around there, maybe the beginning of 2007.
Right,
I'm not
right
positive.
around then. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. And I think we just opened for a local band. Yeah, I think we opened for the Vultures, which was like one of the dudes from that's now in the Crocodiles. It was like his kind of punk band. I don't know if you know
Gotcha.
the Crocodiles.
I I might have talked to Maddie about them, or he might mention them. That's that
Mhm.
because that name rings a bell. But
Mhm.
was that the first time that you played a show live?
That was the first time we played as the Muslims that
Mhm.
became the Soft Pack, the first Soft Pack show. I played a couple live shows with my in college when I sang like the shitty band in college in Santa Barbara. We were called Necrophiliatic Youth, and then I think we changed it to Progressive Orthopedics because we some of the shows were at like it wasn't a religious scene or something, but one of the community spaces was like a church, I think, and they wouldn't let us play if we were called Necrophiliatic Youth because we couldn't be on the flyers or something. So we were just like in front of this like mattress store called Progressive Orthopedics, and I was like, okay, then we're just called. That's the name of our band, Progressive Orthopedics.
Take that
And
sign, put it on here.
yeah, exactly. And then we played like three or four shows as that band, and it was stressful and scary and stuff because it was like we weren't very good, and the songs weren't that great, but it was really fun, and we were kind of just like, that was my first live experience, but that was kind of like the training wheels. We were playing like in college, like at house parties, or we played this little community center thing, or that space in Goleta, and that was like okay. That was then it was a couple years between that and starting the Muslims, in the soft pack, and I was like, so this is what we don't want to do, basically, what that band did. And so we're gonna focus in like making things really simple and attainable, make an attainable goal that we could actually effectively play these songs and have them like kind of have some energy because we're not trying to just like keep it together.
Sure. Yeah.
And that was my approach.
Yeah. And after that, were you guys kind of off and running in a way?
Yeah, because it was like we were kind of just like pretty much like we're taking this seriously and we're gonna play every chance we get. Like we wanted to play at least every weekend, in San Diego. Once we back then fast forward, to like the Muslims in the Soft Pack 2006, 2007, 2006, 2007. Yeah, it was like play every chance we got, anytime we could. We were just like readily available, drop everything. Like and Maddie and I were pretty hardcore. Like we went through a bunch of drummers and bassists, and it would be like, okay, well, there's a show in 2 weeks, opening for such and such band. And then our bassist would be like, oh, I can't do that. I got something else to do that weekend. We're like, okay, we're getting a different bassist. Sorry, if you can't make it, we got to get someone else. We got to play every show. We were pretty serious about it. We were kind of assholes about it, but it wasn't personal. It was just like we want to get this project going, and it was, we pissed off a couple people, and I don't know. It wasn't like I said, it wasn't personal. We were just trying to get the fucking,
Yeah, momentum going. Yeah, yeah.
because a lot of people
I
like kind of
received.
have like a local band mentality, or like they just hang out with friends and have some beers and jam mentality. And I didn't like either of those, you know. Hate local bands and I don't really like just getting together and jamming with friends. I wanted to like write songs and play them and make a record. I wanted to do that. There's various different ways of enjoying music, and like I've never been good. Like I said, I started guitar late, so I was like never as good as my friends. So jamming was always just a pain in the ass. I was like the slow one who couldn't keep up. So I hated jamming. And I always wanted to just like write songs, in my room and then bring them to like a band practice so we could play them.
Yeah. Would you you guys would work on songs, or you would work on a song separately and then kind of bring it to the band, like, and then like let's expand off of this?
That was the main way we did it. Yeah. Like I wrote a handful of songs myself, and Maddie would had written a couple songs, or it would just be a part. He'd be like, okay, I got this bass line, piece it together. And that was in the early days. The Muslims record is me and Maddie kind of piecing it together. And then the soft pack, we were writing songs the lineup eventually solidified with David Lanceman on bass and Brian Hill on drums. And that was
I
around the time we changed the name. And then we wrote a lot of those songs together, like Maddie would have like a chorus or a verse or something, blah, blah, blah. And we bring it. And then the four of us would kind of hammer it out.
Yeah, definitely. Did Brian always have the cocktail kit going on since the inception of him coming in?
Yeah. The Inception he did. And then it became a regular drum set like towards the end, probably around 2011.
Oh,
Mainly because
he did change it at the
Yeah,
end.
mainly because it got to be a pain in the ass because like if we'd go to Europe, and rent a drum kit, it would be like hard to get a cocktail kit, or we wouldn't get a cocktail kit, or then it was like a pain in the ass if we were touring the States with his cocktail kit, like half the time the sound guys at whatever fucking bar, it would just be like they'd be like, whoa, what's going on here? How the fuck am I gonna mic this? And you'd be like, just pretend it's a normal drum kit, but it would freak him out and it was just a waste of time.
He's like,
And
"Where's
so
the stool? I don't understand."
yeah, it was just like stupid. So in the end, I mean, it was really fucking cool. I thought that the cocktail kit was fucking badass, and we enjoyed it. And plus, they were like, the cocktail kits are just like the brand he would buy would be like this, like like cheap kind of beginner level thing. So they would like fall apart while he was playing. Like it was fucking awesome. He'd be like smashing the drums. It'd be like things would be flying off, metal bits and stuff. It was really cool. And I loved it, but it just became impractical once we were kind of really doing the daily kind of show grind, and
Right.
but it was a good run there, the fucking cocktail kit. And it's cool
Yeah.
he played that on TV, with
Yeah, Letterman.
that was the coolest part. I'm sure he's probably one of the only fucking dudes to ever do that.
Yeah. So the early days of touring, what was that like? Like, do you remember your first tour at all? Like, where'd you guys go?
Oh yeah, we did a West Coast tour with this band, the Sesh, and from San Diego. They were like they were the best fucking band in San Diego for sure. And we did like a co-headlining tour with them, like 10 days, like San Diego to Seattle. And none of us knew what the fuck we were doing. And we were like, we just thought it was like a party, and we just like, we're just partying our asses off and we barely like survived the thing. And we're like, holy shit, like 10 days. You kind of learn to pace yourself after that. That was a good one. They were the coolest band, the Sesh. Those dudes, they were like a garage, kind of like a garage rock band. SESS is how you spell it. And then I ended up playing music with those guys. My solo album, the last one I did, I recorded with those dudes, Andrew Montoya and Jeremy Rojas. Those guys, they're excellent musicians.
Did they back you in it when performing live and recorded it with you?
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
Andrew, the drummer, also is an engineer and has a studio, so we recorded a lot of it with him. And then when I toured my solo stuff a couple times or played a few shows, they were my backing band and stuff, and they're excellent musicians, really cool guys too.
Man, that's awesome. When did you guys were you guys setting this up yourselves? Was it kind of like DIY kind of deal at this point?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, okay, going back to that. So that was like January, I believe, January 2008, I think was our first January 2008 was that tour. We did the West Coast with them. And we were all the while playing shows in San Diego and LA. By that time we'd moved to LA and we started playing up there and stuff. And then the album, the like the Muslims vinyl kind of came out in March, and we went to South by Southwest. And we met the Night Marchers, which is guys from the Hot Snakes and San Diego bands. I don't know if you're familiar with them. You are, yeah.
Hot Snake sounds familiar, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Night Marchers is a band after that, and they asked us to tour the U.S. with them, and we were like, holy shit! We were like, that like blew our minds. We were like, holy, like, and we And that was a couple months later. I don't remember exactly, maybe May. I think that was May 2008. We had our records pressed, and a couple like 7 inches or something, and friends were pressing them, you know. And yeah, it wasn't like we were on a label or anything, and we were just kind of like trying to play shows in town to save money to pay for the tour, you know, kind of like
Funding it.
$100 here, $200 there, and then like that goes into like the band fund, and then we could afford to drive, barely afford to drive, you know, touring like I think we did like the western half of the U.S. with those guys, the Night Marchers. It was fucking awesome. That was a learning experience too.
Was there any shows that stand out in your mind on that tour?
Um, it's all kind of a blur now. No, just you know, it wasn't really any specific shows. It was kind of just seeing them because those guys had been doing it for 2008, 30 years or something, right now. No, 90, yeah, 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
And so their
Ish.
20 years of just fucking like nailing it. It was like, oh, okay, we've been playing for like a year. So we learned a lot from them, like watching how, you know, that was a big influence on us, like live and how to play and how to kind of like what the standard was, you know?
Yeah.
And because they're fucking super tight, like fast rock band, you know? And so we kind of like followed them in that direction for sure. Maybe to a default, we like really would hammer things, started like hammering songs out fast and tight, and maybe it lost a little bit of that looseness or something, that thing. But anyway, it was cool. We learned a lot from those guys.
Yeah. That's good to have somebody that you're like, oh, this is how you do it for anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's important. Yeah. So you guys were really doing a lot of touring. I mean, this is a lot of stuff within the first year of the band, being being being
yeah,
the lineup that it was in its I don't know, in its when you guys transitioned to the soft pack, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But then it was like with the band name. I don't know. Maddie probably talked. You probably talked to Maddie about this, but the band name thing, like basically, it was kind of like getting weird. Obviously, it wasn't like the most. It was a pretty short-sighted band name, you know, and we didn't think we would ever leave San Diego. So therefore, if someone had a problem with it, we could talk to them because they'd be at our show. They'd be one of the 12 people at our concert, right? It was like the way we were thinking about it. And the purpose of it was to be like, you know, like confront kind of Islamophobia kind of vibe, you know, and be like, that's stupid. But then when you can't communicate that, when it gets beyond your control, you just end up looking Islamophobic, or people that are Islamophobic kind of gravitate toward it and like, yeah, or, you know, want to like, I don't know, express their views. And we didn't give a shit about hearing people's views, and we did not want to promote any kind of
Right.
thing. So
Negative aspect. Yeah.
yeah, and in the end, it turned out that you know, Muslim people reached out to us and were like, "This is not funny. This is not a joke." And we're like, you know what? We don't want to. That's the last. Yeah, that was the last thought we had, which was like, no, we don't. That's the antithesis of what we were about, and so we changed it. Plus, we were going overseas and all this stuff, and we were at that point we had been booked for a European tour and all this stuff, and we were just like, this is getting beyond whatever it was. We started it, you know,
Right.
and it was anyway, yeah, and it was just kind of like it was kind of sad to change it, but also I think it was, you know, it's for the better because in hindsight, especially nowadays, I mean, you don't think about what it looks like, and what has it been, 13 years now or something. It's things have changed, you know, the political climate is changing and
Oh
everything's
yeah,
different now. And so in
definitely.
hindsight, it's like much better to not have to be associated with that band name and the association and, you know, whatever.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Don't want to be too controversial. It's just easier to just play the music and have a name like that. That's the name. This is the music. Like that's this is what we're about. Like that's what it's always
Yeah,
been about.
yeah. I mean, the controversy was like was there and was part of it and was cool, but like I said, once it got it, then it was either getting to this point where it's like the punk thing to do is to not change it. We're like, well, fuck that, you know. That's like why are we tied to like I don't know, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's not like a it's not like a daredevil thing or like at that point when you're not just pissing off the squares, you know, then it's like fuck, you know, you're just like. Plus, I don't want to talk to people. It's not like it's not what the goal is, you know. Like it's just like I don't really give a shit about what some fucking idiot thinks about
sure, sure.
anyway, so
Yeah. So I mean, you guys changed it, and it was fine after that, right? Like no more issues. Or,
essentially, yeah.
yeah.
um yeah, I mean that was good. It was another kind of thing. I kind of see it as two separate things too. Like the soft pack, very different than the Muslims in the way that it like the songs were written and and like the performance of it, to me it's pretty much it's two different bands. Brian and Dave, the drummer and bassist of the Soft Pack, did end up playing at the end of the Muslims, but it was a different project. To me, it was like, you know,
It shifted
I,
course. Yeah.
yeah, it was a different band. I thought different project, different
Sound
um,
kind of.
like a different goal, like a different artistic, goal. I thought we were going for a different thing, and the Soft Pack was more like a rock band, whereas the Muslims were more like loose and like kind of like freewheeling, and the Soft Pack was more of like a rock band, you know.
Yeah, yeah, like a more cemented, like concrete thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. So, uh, when did you make because you moved to LA, right? For a little bit. You guys all did.
Yeah, yeah. So we moved to LA in like 2000 at the beginning of 2008, something like that, and that's right when we kind of started touring and stuff. So we toured 2008, and 2009 is when we like signed our deals and started going to Europe and stuff and something like that. And that was in like the Soft Pack, was the Soft Pack we like signed to Mexican Summer, and yeah, and we were like, that was like from 2009 to 2012, we were just like touring the whole damn time, living in LA, based in LA.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So did you have a job at this point where you're just like constantly playing shows, just paying the bills that way?
Yeah, I when we first moved to LA in 2008, um, we all had jobs. I was working in like one of those call centers, like it was actually during the Obama campaign. I was doing like telemarketing for the Obama campaign. It was a really shitty job because I was really bad at it. Like I did not want to be there, but it had loose kind of like you could take like 2 weeks off, go on tour, but you had like a limit of how much time you could take off. And it just so worked out that like when I had taken the maximum amount of time off and had to like they let me go, right, or whatever, like sorry, you can't come back if you take this time off. It was like that was like that was the tour that like was kind of the beginning of when we were fully touring and making money.
Perfect timing.
I was really lucky. I was really lucky in that because it was like I had nothing else going on, and it worked out. So yeah, that was like starting in like 2009, something like that, around there.
Yeah. And then it was a problem getting Brian to come up to LA, right? Like he was he still based in San
Oh,
Diego?
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. So he would have to like come up. Yeah, he would take the train up, crash with me. We would practice a couple days, and then we would go on tour. I don't remember exactly when all that changed, but yeah, definitely Maddie was in LA for a bit before. Then we ended up moving in, all kind of moving up. Brian was the last. I think it was like a matter of getting Brian, basically making enough money for him to be able to move up or something like that.
Yeah.
Montclair that. But he was really happy. He was I don't know why he was reluctant to do so. He had never moved out of the house, you know, and he had like a decent job and he was living with his mom and he was kind of like had like a steady little thing going. But I think moving to LA was one of the best things he ever did. He
How much
says that.
how
That's what he
much
said.
was rent when you moved to LA?
How much was rent?
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to remember Brian's first place. What the fuck? Oh yeah, Brian moved in with some friends. His rent was probably like $700 a month for a room in Hollywood.
I mean, yeah, that's. I mean, it's crazy now to think of that to get that price anywhere in LA. But yeah, oh man,
It might have been less. It might have been fucking less. When I was renting in LA, I was living in a two-bedroom, like a pretty nice two-bedroom apartment. Like not nice. It was in a shitty neighborhood, like drug fucking like MS-13. That gang was like I was in their turf. There were gunshots every month. They would graffiti my fucking apartment building. But what was nice about it is we were on the second floor. We had a little patio overlooking the street, and it was like this old ass building from the 20s, and it had like, you know, hardwood floors and stuff. Built out like that Spanish style LA kind of vibe, and it was a cool place. Like once you were inside, it was like a little bit of a safe haven, but everything outside was a shithole, and it was dangerous and super stressful living there. And I think our rent started at like, I think when we moved in, we were paying like two-bedroom, one bath apartment for like 1,100 or 1,200, and we're splitting it. I was with my girlfriend, and there was splitting it with my friend Ryan, who was in the dorms with me, who was had that cool CD collection. He and his girlfriend moved in, so four people paying that rent. I think I paid like $325 a month for like 5 years.
yeah, that's not bad. That is not bad, man. How was the parking situation like? Pretty good.
Oh, it was hellish. I moved
Oh,
when we moved to LA. I sold my car and I lived in LA without a car. I was taking the bus everywhere because I couldn't afford gas or car insurance or parking tickets. So I don't know. I was like, we were like the only people that didn't have a car. We lived in LA with no car, and Brian didn't have a car either. Brian and I were always taking the bus, meeting each other on the bus to go to band practice and stuff. It was really fun actually because driving in LA, as you probably know, is stressful.
yeah, yeah, to say the least. Oh
Yeah,
man, yeah. Especially you get from here to over there. I mean, and back,
yeah.
it's just insane. Uh, I used to do the podcast in person, and I would meet the people, and it's just like, shit, I gotta leave 2 hours early sometimes, 2.5 hours early just to get there on time. Find parking, that's an issue, always an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a thing. Actually, Maddie was the last person I did in person. Now I think
Okay.
about it, which is it's just so crazy. Maybe like a year ago now, or close to it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, but that was always an issue. He was nice enough to figure out a place for me to park. So thank you, Maddie, for that. To take that burden off my shoulders.
That's
You know,
cool.
yeah, it's super nice of him. But but yeah, so you're out in LA, and you're doing band practice. Where are you guys practicing? You guys have a space out here?
Yeah, we were renting a couple practice spaces. Oh man, the first one we had was in like at Hollywood and Vine in like the center of that Hollywood shit. And it was crazy. It was like it was a total dump and there was just like loud fucking like metal bands playing all over the place and like I mean that's how all practice spaces are, but there was just like you know crazy people like screaming on the streets and stuff. And that's where we kind of like wrote the first Soft Pack album. We were in there in various kind of practice spaces in this building, this old building in Hollywood. And then we moved to Echo Park. For a while, we played at Maddie's Garage in Highland Park, and that's kind of where we wrote some of the second album, and we ended up in this good practice space. I can't remember the name of it, in Echo Park. It's probably, I think it's called Bedrock or something. That was a nice place. So that's where we were practicing.
Throughout this time, I mean, you guys were playing more and more shows, yeah, like more LA centered shows.
I mean, actually, I think as time wore on, we ended up playing less and less in LA. We were on the road, and we would just play LA like at the beginning or end of our tour,
Right.
and we would just be hanging out.
To kick it off or wrap it up.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of wish we played more in LA. I like playing LA a lot. I think it's a fun place to play. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was weird. Yeah, as we started touring more, we started playing LA less.
Yeah. I mean, you moved to the city. You're like, yeah, no. I want to get out of here. Let's go, let's go out. Yeah.
Yeah.
How the fuck did you guys get that Letterman spot? How did that come about?
Oh yeah, well, we had like a, like a publicity what is that? Like a
Publicist.
publicist, or I guess, yeah, the publicist. I think we got that through the publicist. We were with I think it was called Press Here or something. And they were good. And somehow they got that spot. I don't know. We had a lot of hype, at the moment. So I think that helped. And but yeah, we never expected that. That was pretty crazy. That was like the most stressful moment of my life, you know.
I bet. Yeah. Did you guys ship your gear over there? Or did you rent stuff on the East Coast?
Yeah, well, we played. Brian had a drum kit that because our record label was based in New York, and so we were over there a lot. We were playing New York a lot, and we had like Brian had like a drum kit that just kind of stayed over there with our friends, and our friends in bands had their practice space, so Brian could just leave a drum kit there, and when we would show up, we would practice at their space. The guy Ryan McReynolds, who put out the Muslims record on 1928 Records, he was always letting us use his stuff, his space and stuff. And so Brian had a drum kit, but other than that, we would just like rent gear because we just played like Fender amps, so it was really easy. And yeah, I mean, we just showed up. It was fucking crazy. I like was backstage and like was like, I think I fucking forgot the lyrics. My mind blanked, I was like stressing out so much that I was just like, I don't even know the lyrics of the goddamn song. I think I remembered, like, I forced myself to like remember the first two lines, and I was just like, okay, if I can't remember the rest, I'm just gonna sing those two lines over and over again. But it all kind of came together. I think I just kind of like snapped into it, when I was going.
Sure. Yeah.
But
was
yeah,
he was he just sitting there, Mr. Letterman, to the right of you? Were you
the
just
left of us, yeah.
the left of you rather?
Yeah, it was cool. He was like saying, he was talking. It was funny, like we were off, like as the camera was rolling, he was like introducing us, and we were off the screen, right? But we were already set up, like ready to go, waiting for him to introduce us to start playing. And he goes like, up next, our guest from Los Angeles, California. I don't know who told him we were from LA or whatever. And he started talking to us because it's like on the cover he said something like, "Where is this? Is this Zuma Beach or something?" And he was kind of joking around. And I was like, "Oh," and I was like from upstairs like, "It's Venice." And he's like, "Oh, Venice, yeah, okay." And he's like, "Well, this is Softback from LA," and I was like, "We're from San Diego." And he's like, "San Diego, okay, all right." And then like I was like interrupting, and then I started like because I was all nervous, so I kept like talking, I was like, and everyone's like, "Shut the fuck up," I was like, "Oh yeah." Yeah. And then when he introduced us, I said like, "This one's for Warren Zevon," because
Yeah, you had just died, right?
yeah, well, I mean, he died a few years prior, but he and David Letterman were really good friends, and I was a big fan. Was especially at the time a big fan of Warren Zevon. I was listening to a lot and like reading his biography and stuff. And so I was like, "This one's for Warren Zevon," like a shout out to Warren Zevon and then their friendship and stuff. And so we played, and I just threw that out there. And then like after the thing, Dave came up. You know, he shakes the band's hand after they play and all that. He's like, Warren Zevon, huh? I was like, yeah, we're big fans. He's like, well, I'm sure Warren would be proud. He said that.
That's
They
pretty
shook our
cool.
hands and like walked, walked away and all that after we shook hands. And then like the production team, like members of the production team would go up to me like, why did you dedicate to Warren Zevon? Dave would like to know, is there like is it some sort of date? Is there like a anniversary of something that he should know about right now? They like wanted all the information. And I was like, no, we're just big fans. I just wanted to say that, like, oh, okay. And then it was cool. Then they kind of loosened up and they started telling us stories. Because Warren Zevon would be like, David Letterman. No, when Paul Schaefer, the piano guy,
Yep.
when he wouldn't like be able to play or would be on vacation or something, sometimes they would call Zevon to come in and like be the musical guy,
Yeah, the
So
band leader.
everyone in the production team that had been there for years knew Warren really well, and like he was part of their kind of group, So they started telling
That's
us
awesome.
stories like about how funny and cool he was, and like one time, one of the stories that I remember was that like this one woman was like, "Oh man, he was so cool," blah blah blah. And when he died, the day he died, I had just found out the news, and something like all the windows fell off of the walls of her, her office, like some sort of thing, like a ghost story, And she's like, and I'm sure that was Warren. Like when I heard the news, then all the windows not windows, sorry, like pictures, like framed pictures,
Oh wow.
started
Yeah.
falling off the wall and like crashing on the ground. She's like, that's probably Warren, like it was kind of funny that she was telling me this story. So.
That's insane. Yeah. Wow, man. That's a big deal to play on Letterman. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was cool because like that. I don't know. Yeah, I was happy that I said that dedicated to Warren because that was like opened a lot of like conversation up around it. And we were talking to people more.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Is really cool. What time did you show up for that? Like daytime? I mean, because you guys, it was like recording around like 6, right? That's when they usually do it.
Yeah, it was recorded in the afternoon,
Oh,
and I
afternoon.
think yeah, I don't remember exactly what time, but it was not. The sun was out when we recorded that.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's a really big deal. How did you feel afterwards? You're like, we fucking we're on Letterman. That's crazy.
Yeah, we kind of celebrated that night, and we didn't get to see it because it was one of those things like say it was taped on a Thursday or something, and it was airing the following Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then like the day after, a couple days after that, we had played some shows in New York, and then a couple days after that, we flew to start a European tour. And then we were in Europe when it aired, and we couldn't see it. But
Oh
like
man.
my friends and family and everyone watched it, and they're all like, "Oh, it was so good, you nailed it," blah blah blah. But it was fun to hear from them. But I kind of wish I could have seen it. But so I've only seen the YouTube of it. Like I didn't get to watch the episode or anything.
Yeah. It's a great performance. I'll link it on the in the
Oh yeah,
description of this video. Yeah.
cool.
That is great, man. When you guys filmed the music video for Answer to Yourself, that was at Del Mar Pizza, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you used to work there, or did somebody used to work there?
Yeah, I grew up working there, and Maddie, when he got out of college, I got him a job there, and we were delivering pizzas. Um, yeah, it's a true story, basically, that video. We were working there, and that's how we kind of like we started the band there. We would like go into work, and we had kind of finagled a way to kind of like pocket some of the delivery money that, you know, not just the tips, but we were kind of, you know, taking a little bit off the top of these deliveries. And eventually, um, Maddie could afford a computer, a Mac laptop, and that's how we recorded the first demos and the first songs and stuff. And so that was like an instrumental job in that. And we would just be there working on this, getting our shift over so we could go back and record and mix the songs. And yeah, we worked there. I grew up in Del Mar there, and I used to work at the surf shop next door. My first job was next door at the surf shop when I was a kid into surfing. I started working there when I was like 15 or something. And I worked there through high school, and then I would come back from college and work there. And I just kind of like lost interest. I was getting way more into music, you know, and lost interest in like surfing and the surf world and all that. And I can't remember what it was, but one day they were like, they fired me from the surf shop or something, you know, like after like working there for like 6 years or something. And I just walked next door to the pizza place, and I was like, hey, I just got fired next door. Can I work here? And like, yeah, you can work here. And it was just like next door. And when I originally started working there before the band and stuff, it was this classic old dude named Tony, of course, from New York. And he had like retired, you know, I don't know, like 20 years prior. He had like 6 pizza places in New York, like total old school pizza guy. And he retired and moved to San Diego. And then when he was retired, he was bored. So he opened up a pizza spot in Del Mar. And so we had this like really cool, authentic, like old school New York style pizza place in this beach town. You know, it had like the red checkered tablecloths and like the cheap wine everywhere. And it was really good. And so I grew up going there. And that's kind of like, there were a couple musicians that like worked over there, like the cooler. There's a surf shop next door where like the surfers work, but like the musicians worked at the pizza place as I was growing up, the older guys, you know?
Yeah.
So it felt like the right move. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Fuck the surfers. Fuck surfing. I'm a musician. It's time I work at the pizza place where the fucking musicians work. And I walked next door, and then Tony was like, and I've been going in there since I was like a kid, since I was like, you know, 11 years old, buying slices of pizza. And I was like, Tony, can I have a job? I'm leaving the surf shop. He's like, yeah, you can work here. And so I just like started like the same day I started fucking working at the pizza place. It was a cool things like used to be like that. It seems like, you know.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen now.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you can work here. And so I just started working there, and I would just hang out there. And then at that time, like the same chefs, the Mexican dudes that were like in the kitchen, the same guys that had been there since I was a kid. I started working there. I'm with them. And then later, we like Maddie gets a job. We're doing the band, and like they would come to our shows. They were like our biggest fans, and they were the coolest dudes. And they're still fucking there. Like when I go back into town, I'll go in and get a pizza, and those guys are like, yeah, Matt. You know, they're all stoked to see me because like they would come to our like dive bar shows. They'd be like 4 or 5 of these guys hanging out, and then like 4 like hipsters like at the show, you know. And it was like,
yeah.
dude, the Mexican cooks in the kitchen, these guys were fucking awesome guys. They're great guys, and our buddies. And so they're like so stoked on like the progress of the band, you know?
Yeah.
And and then the music video. So then we were like, the music video, we did it with them, and they're like, you know, super stoked to be like that was part of it, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome,
It's
man.
awesome. And then it changed hands. Sadly, Tony, the old dude who owned it, eventually passed away, and it got kind of purchased and turned into this kind of more like beachy vibe instead of like the New York vibe, you know.
Yeah.
But whenever like I'll still go in there and they're like, oh yeah, you did the music video here. Like the new, like the chefs are still the same guys in the kitchen, but like the new like waiters or whatever, you know, that just kids. They're always like,
Yeah.
oh, were you the one with the music video? I was like, oh yeah, yeah. It's like it's fucking hilarious. Like no one
That's
gives a shit about the band or anything. But except for the dudes in the back, those guys are the best.
that's awesome, man. How long did it take to film that?
We did it in a day or some, like in like a couple hours. We have a friend of ours, Felipe Lima. He's like totally into like production stuff, like because we were all kind of starting our careers at the same time. Like we're all the same age, so went to college. And Felipe graduated from college and wanted to start like video production stuff for like, you know, music videos, commercials, etc. And so we were all just like, he was just doing those videos, and he's gone on to kind of be pretty successful with that stuff. But that was like early stuff for him too. It was like early stuff for us at the same time. We were like starting out together. And Felipe did a lot of the soft pack videos. I would come up with the idea, and then he would shoot it and produce it, you know.
Did he also help with the Extinction video?
Yeah. So he was in on that. The Extinction video was like he was involved in that one too. The Extinction video one was like my friend Russ was in film school and he needed to do a project. And he had all these like stupid ass ideas. And I was like, you know what, Russ? And then he got fed up because I kept saying no to his ideas for the video. And he's like, you know what, fine, you come up with an idea. Well, shoot, I just need to turn something into my class, And I was like, all right. So I wrote like the idea, a simple storyboard for that video. And we shot it on black and white film. And then, yeah, that was that. That was cool. Cause I was like fresh out of like the film school. I was excited to do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's an awesome video, man. Both of those are great, man. That's yeah. How long did that take? Like just a day or so?
Yeah, that was a day. I think he had to do like it was like a group project for film school, right? So it was like in the same day, guys. So he had his video, his film he shot. I think we did three of the group projects in one day. The other guy, like in his class was like holding the fucking microphone of our music video, and then we had to like hold the microphone for his music video. That it was like the music video was the project for the class, and he did like a Goo Goo Dolls song, the other guy, and Russ did our song, to kind of like help us out or whatever, or not help us out, but he was stoked, we were into like doing the project together. But the other people, we did like a Goo Goo Dolls music video that day, and like some other whatever song for the people that were like helping. We all had to help each other, so it was a free production.
Awesome,
Funny.
man. Yeah, that's great, dude. Well, listen, man. I wrapped this up with some promotional stuff. So what would you like the people to be checking out for and listening to of your stuff? If you got anything to promote.
Yeah, I mean, I have solo stuff. I have a new album coming out, probably in a month or so. I don't know what it's going to be called. I think it's going to be called Hot House in Hell, because it's like a quarantine album. It's kind of just like odds and ends I've been screwing around with on my computer. So I'm putting that out just to have something, just to kind of release it. And
awesome. Where could can the people find that when it's out?
yeah, so all my solo stuff is just Matt Lamkin on Spotify and Bandcamp.
Sweet.
And
Sweet.
actually, all those, I don't know if you've got Deezer or Tidal or, Apple Music. It's on all those platforms. So anywhere you want, just look for my name.
On everywhere.
Lamkin, yeah.
You search it up and it's there, right?
Yeah, it'll be there. Yeah, my last album's up there. It's called Where I'm At. And then this new one's coming out in a month or so. I think it'll be called Hot House in Hell. We'll see.
Sweet, man. Awesome. So definitely take to keep a lookout for that. Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob.
Awesome, cool. Dude. I'm gonna stop recording this, but I'll talk to you in 1 second.
Cool.